I'm going to give you 7 steps so you create the kind of content that makes more sales. I know that you've been told create valuable content, but the real problem is we haven't clearly defined what is valuable content and who determines the value. Valuable content is not tips and tricks, and it's not teaching your audience everything that you know. That will make your content sound more like a textbook instead of feel like a breakthrough. When I was coaching healthcare professionals through their burnout, I was the person giving all the tips and all the tricks and educating my audience on what burnout is, instead of helping them see what is on the other side of getting clear, what is on the other side of working with me, which is to take them to their end destination. So I was educating so much on the signs and the symptoms and what to look out for, but I was never creating a clear pathway or a clear process to show them that I knew how to help them. Now, yes, people did sign up to work together. I did sign clients, but I could have signed way more clients had I had a clearer perspective on understanding what makes valuable content. Because even though you can help someone get a result, it doesn't mean that you're good yet at articulating or communicating the value and the benefit of working with you. So we want to get clear on what are these 5 things that valuable content will always do. I'm going to share this because we have to define valuable content. I'm going to share this before I give you the 7 steps. So the first thing valuable content will always do is clarify your audience's thinking. Your audience has so much stuff going on in their brain. They are seeking a solution. And so that means that when they come across your content, they are not looking to be taught or preached at. They're looking to have light bulb and aha moments. It wants to feel like a breakthrough. So when they come across your content, you're going to clarify all the thoughts that they have. You're going to put a piece of the puzzle together for them so that they can have this aha moment. Second thing that valuable content will always do is create emotional resonance. Valuable content will always speak to the heart and soul of your person because people don't buy because of what you say. They buy because of how you make them feel. And now you might be thinking, well, how do we make someone feel like buying? People don't buy your offer. They actually are buying your perspective. And my last video, I went very much in depth about how to cultivate and shape your perspective because that is where your power lies. There's a lot of people that can promise a destination or an end result, but you are the only one with your unique pathway, your unique expertise and experience that can help someone get there. And so people will buy into the alignment of your pathway and your process. And that is all in your perspective. And that's what creates that emotional resonance. Valuable content will always do this third thing. It will always challenge your audience's assumption. Your audience has a thought process around why they're not achieving their results. Now, their thought process could be right, could be wrong, but we want to challenge the assumptions that they are believing that's holding them back. We want to challenge that. And what I mean by challenge, I don't mean, make fun. I don't mean criticize. I don't mean put them down or create shame. I don't mean any of that. I mean challenge it so that way they can kind of see themselves. They can have a reflection moment and they can have another aha, but it's in a way of them going, oh, I've never thought about it like that. I've never seen it like that. This is where you lend that perspective. So you want to challenge the assumptions that they are making about why they haven't yet achieved the results that they are seeking. Number 4 is valuable content will always cultivate trust in your perspective and your process. When you are owning that you are good at what you do, you are owning your ability to get results. When you are owning the pathway, the blueprint, the way that you take your audience through their transformation, when you own that, you're going to inherently cultivate a level of trust in your energy and your words, and that gets communicated in your content, whether it's video or written. People are going to be able to feel that. So valuable content will always cultivate a level of trust where your audience now wants to keep reading everything you write or listening to everything that you say. And the last thing that valuable content will always do, it will always convert interest into intentional next steps. It's so easy for people to just scroll by. But when the content is valuable, now they're intentionally looking at more of what you have. They're binging all of your videos. They're going, I might have to work with this person. Like you just keep pulling them in because the content is so good and you've already served them. You've already given them a breakthrough. So how do you actually have all of these elements, these 5 elements, and truly create transformational content rather than educational content? Now, let me clarify this for a second because it doesn't mean that we don't educate our audience, but we have to also understand, well, what does education mean? We don't need to educate our audience on everything we know on how to solve it. We're not here to sound like a textbook, but we want to educate on why they haven't yet achieved the results that they are looking for. We want to educate on why their way of thinking isn't the best perspective that is going to help them achieve their results. So the education looks different. We are educating them into a new way of seeing their issue or problem and a new way of seeing a solution. We're not trying to educate them on what we know. Very big difference. So we're going to turn our textbook style content, our educational style content into transformational content so that each piece of content leads to a mini breakthrough for your audience so that they just keep having these light bulb moments and they just feel this desire. It builds up the momentum in them to want to make a purchase with you. So how do we make this shift? Let me just say this. This is the kind of transformation in your content that is going to attract a sophisticated buyer. It is going to attract someone who is looking for the truth. They're not looking for you to say the right thing so that they buy. They're looking for you to deliver the truth. What is actually going on with why they haven't been able to achieve their results? And what is your way, your mechanism, your process in order of helping them get there? Okay. So the first thing you want to do, this is getting into the 7 steps, is you want to diagnose the real problem. Your audience right now thinks that they might know what the problem is. They have an assumption about what they believe the problem is, but that assumption isn't always correct or isn't always true, or they have half of the picture. So our job as coaches and experts and thought leaders is to understand what is the real problem that our audience is having right now that's holding them back. And so your content will diagnose the actual problem. And so I always love to give the example that sometimes when people want to lose weight, they make this assumption that they have to do more cardio. So let's say I'm helping someone lose weight. I know that their real issue is that they aren't doing enough strength training. But they think I just got to do more cardio. I got to burn more calories. Okay, burn more calories, true, but by what means? They're thinking through cardio, but you know, as the expert, it's through actually building more muscle and strength training. So I want to diagnose what their real problem is. So their real problem is they are not strength training and they're doing too much cardio, which at that point, they could be losing muscle mass and not actually having fat loss. But that's a whole different conversation. Okay, so you just want to show them that you understand them way more than they understand themselves. You want to start putting language to the way that they are feeling, language to the situations that they are in, and language that hits at a much deeper level. So diagnose the real problem, what's actually keeping them from achieving their results. Number 2, you want to disrupt their old thinking. We cannot help anyone create change in their life or help them get to a destination, a solution that they are seeking, if we do not disrupt their old way of thinking. Now, right now, your old way of thinking is if I keep putting out more content, I am going to make more sales. But I'm sure you've seen more content doesn't always mean more sales, especially if you're creating educational textbook style pieces of content and your content isn't creating these mini transformations. So I want to disrupt your thinking so that you understand, hey, I've got to create transformational content. I can't keep preaching or being so teachy in my content. I've got to start shaping a new perspective. I got to start disrupting the way that my audience is thinking. When I was teaching and coaching around burnout, I wasn't disrupting their thinking at all at that time. I was just telling them what burnout is. And I was also telling them why they were experiencing it, but I would never really follow through with an entire thought process because I didn't realize that those were all really essential pieces of content. And by essential piece, I mean I wasn't disrupting the way that they saw burnout. I wasn't Let me say this. I was helping them when we were working together, but my content never actually reflected that all of this stuff that I do inside of my container, I was able to do. My content really was like a mismatch. And you might be seeing that right now. You're like, I'm so good at what I do. I've worked with people, I've signed clients before, but my content doesn't really feel like it's landing. Well, I ask you, are you really disrupting their thinking? And this is where we can't be afraid to really poke holes in what our audience is currently thinking because that's what's holding them back. They are paying you so that you can help them, not paying you so that you can help them stay complacent. And we can't fall into the people pleasing trap of, well, I don't want to say this because I might hurt their feelings. Sometimes we have to hurt their feelings. But what I always like to say is if we're going to say something, we want to make sure that we have a caring tone if you're offering a lot of video style content, or that if you're using words and you're writing a carousel, that you actually kind of frame what you're about to say. And when you frame things that you're about to say that you know might sound a bit harsh or you know might trigger a person, then it lands easier. I like to say it's like you give them a pillow before you really give it to them straight. And there's nothing wrong with framing it because depending on what your topic might be about, some things might come off a little bit harsh, but we have to be able to disrupt their thinking. Because if we don't do that, then we don't give them a new lens to see their problem, which means that they don't feel like they can actually overcome their issue and get their actual solution, which means they'll never actually see you as someone who can help them. So we have to disrupt their thinking. Okay, number 3 is we want to deliver a new possibility. So once we've shaken up their old way of thinking, then we want to start putting the puzzle pieces back together in a new way so that they can see a new picture. Because right now they've got puzzle pieces together, right? Maybe some of them are, forced in there and they're like, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But when we come in and we disrupt their thinking, we are helping to reorganize the puzzle piece. So now when we deliver a new possibility, they look at the pieces and they're like, whoa. They're excited because they can see something they've never seen before. They can feel something that they've never felt before. And they can finally understand something that they've never understood before. And you're the person that's helped them to do that. So sometimes we got to go in there and not just shake it up, but we also have to then complete the entire thought process in our content of giving them a new vision. We got to clean off the lens that they have because it's the thinking that makes our eyeballs fuzzy. It's the thinking that makes the lens fuzzy. But once we can clarify their thinking, now they have a new vision. It's like, I just imagined, I think it's on a cartoon, but like when someone's wearing glasses, like they got windshield wipers on their glasses, that's how I imagine content is for our people. Okay, number 4, you want to design a bridge. A bridge. You are over here, your clients are over here. Our content's job is to create a bridge so that they can go, ooh, I can walk across their bridge. Our job is not to shout at them from over here and say, hey, come here. There's like murky, dirty water underneath that bridge. And you want them to like just walk over there by themselves? No, you go over there and you start putting your content pieces together, your mini breakthroughs, so that you help them walk across to your side. And they ensure that they don't fall into the dirty water underneath the bridge. So you want to develop the bridge. Now, what is the bridge? The bridge are those mini breakthroughs. This boils down to what is the process that you are taking your audience through. And this is something that I help my clients with. I help my clients design a signature framework, which turns into their content process or content pillars, if you will. And it's their own signature framework that they now turn around and use in their content. So it's clear as day what it is you help with, and it's clear as day how you're going to help them get the result. And they start to build that trust when you have a signature framework. That is a way you're going to deliver certainty in your content. And certainty is always going to sell because your audience is looking to feel clear. So design that bridge, give them structure, give them a way to not only see something, but believe in something, believe that they actually can achieve the result that they have been desiring to achieve for however long. So this is why I say that your perspective is really your power, because it's your perspective, which is that signature framework. It's your pathway, your process or mechanism or blueprint for achieving those results. All right, number 5, you want to distill the message to their awareness. Their awareness is the signature words here, or the key words here. The reason why is because we can often speak in a way that our audience doesn't understand. It's like going to the doctor and they're like, okay, you've got stenosis in your neck and you have a radiculopathy in your leg and you've got this, and the patient's like, I'm sorry, what? Like they don't understand anything you just said. So you just use like doctor speak to a patient. And so when I used to really educate a lot of my patients on what was going on with their body, I used a lot of food examples. I used a lot of examples that they understood in their day to day. I also used either a drawing or I would use my hands if I was explaining like the shoulder joint, for example. The shoulder is a ball and socket joint. And so let's say you want to create a piece of content where you have to demonstrate, you might want to draw on a whiteboard, you might want to use an example, you might have a prop that you use, but you want to distill it down to their level of awareness. Our job is to articulate and communicate so that they understand. Our job is not to make it hard for them to understand. Our job is to make it easy for them to understand. Doctors never made it easy for the patient to understand. It's so different when we come into the online space. It's not to make it harder, it's to make it easier. We want our audience to know we can help you, we can service you. But if our communication and articulation isn't there, whew, the message completely goes over their head and you're left wondering, why isn't anybody picking up what I'm putting down? That's because you're saying it in a way that they're not picking up. And so not only do you want to have this process, but you want to make sure that process meets them at a level of awareness that they are at. And so it's essential to understand your audience so much better than they understand themselves, because you have to know, well, what are they currently thinking? What are they currently feeling? And what are they currently doing? That is their current awareness. What is their everyday life without having the results that they're looking for? And once you can understand that, now you're able to provide a new perspective, a new lens, and then kind of use the words that you know make sense to them. Use the words that they're already using. And if you want to use a word that maybe they don't have, to define or describe whatever it is they are going through, then define it so that you all are on the same page. Don't make the assumption that your audience knows what you mean. Because think about your own buying example. If you are scrolling social media, you're not really looking to buy anything. But if something that you are dealing with or trying to overcome, you see a person who says clear as day that they can help you, then it's like, oh, yeah, that totally met my level of awareness. I used to follow this one coach and she's great. But what I found was like, even though I really liked her and even though she said a lot of really great things, I found that her content was really challenging to get through. And what I mean by that is like it just had so much like high level speak. And it wasn't that I couldn't understand it. It just was a little tiring for my brain to even like get through. And so over time, my initial desire to buy started to go down and down and down and down and down. Now, I just probably wasn't her ideal person, which is completely fine, but you want to make it known that when you speak a certain way, it's not to speak to a low level of consciousness. That is very different than speaking to a level of awareness. Sometimes we can speak too low on the totem pole to a person that we're speaking to their lowest level consciousness, which is just a superficial problem. And we're not yet speaking to the deeper hearts and desires. Sophisticated buyers are looking for not a deeper solution, but they themselves have more depth. And because they have more depth, they can kind of see through the weeds. But it doesn't mean that they want to work super hard and exert all of their mental energy to understand what you are saying. So you want to make sure that what you're saying, the message is just distilled down to something that is just plain and simple, but doesn't come off in a very condescending way. Okay, number 6 is to draw out a new identity. You want to speak to the identity of this ideal audience or ideal client of yours achieving the result. Who are they now? Kind of paint that vision, describe them, describe how they already desire to feel, but haven't yet been able to feel. Desire that or create that desire in your words and speak about that because your audience is already feeling like I can be that person. I can be that kind of person that achieves X, Y, and Z result. So when you speak to that and you draw out that new kind of identity, that's going to emotionally resonate with them because they're going to be like, yes, I do see myself like that. And when you can hold up that mirror and you can show them that, hey, you really are this person, but we got to take a couple steps together. Now they're like, I'm all in because you help me see myself in a more powerful way. You help me see myself as the person who is a victor, not a victim. And so it's so essential that you start cultivating the emotional awareness of how your person wants to feel. So don't just look to sell your offer and talk about your offer. Talk about the identity of what it's going to feel like and be like. What is their new life experience after they work with you? So making sure that your content helps to speak to the identity of that person. And then number 7, last but it's not least, it's to direct their next decision. So at this point, your audience is ready to do something. And that next decision doesn't have to mean that they are buying your offer. It could mean, depending on what kind of medium that you're using to create content, maybe you have a reel or a carousel, and it's like, I invite you into the comment section and share a takeaway. You're inviting them into the next decision to engage with you. Maybe you're commenting, DM me a word, and now they are engaging with you, and that is your invitation. That is their next decision. They feel compelled to reach out and ask you a question, or they're saying yes to the call to action that you have at the end of your piece of content. So you are directing their next decision. You're not telling them you need this or you need that. It's like, I'm just going to kindly guide you because if you have all of these previous 6 steps in place, then that person's kind of just been walking along like you're holding their hand across the bridge and it's like y'all are skipping in the park or walking in the park. They're going to just be naturally led there. You're not going to have to pull them. This is not a tug of war. Content should not feel like a tug of war. It shouldn't feel like you're pulling your audience in a forceful way. Your audience naturally will feel drawn in when you are doing these 7 components. And so direct that next decision. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to click the button? Do you want them to comment? Do you want them to send you a DM? Do you want them to, respond in your poll? Do you want, what is it you want them to do? And just guide them there. And it's not going to feel salesy or weird or anything like that because you've already delivered the value. And the value they determine because it's something that's important to them. Our job, like I said, is just to articulate and communicate the value so that they understand, oh, this is something that I need. Oh, this is something that I've been looking to solve in my life. Oh, this person can help me. It should be like a ooh, ooh, ooh kind of moment, these mini breakthroughs when they are seeing your content or listening to your voice. So these 7 steps is like so pivotal. So pivotal. Use this as a checklist. Make sure that your pieces of content has these elements. Make sure that your videos and the things that you write are really hitting on these components because we can waste a lot of time creating the content that doesn't really pierce the hearts. And we can post so much more content, but it doesn't mean we're getting the end result of more sales. It's like trying to drive from the East Coast to the West Coast. You're like, oh, I'm on a drive. It's like, I'm driving. Okay, but you're going in the wrong direction. So posting more content can still be in the wrong direction if you don't have these 7 elements. And they are so essential. So if you are looking for more personalized support to develop your signature framework, to understand how to do this for your business specifically and get my personal eyes on your work, Content Legacy Method is my signature program to help you do this. I will leave a link in the description box with all of the details. I trust this video serves you and blesses you, and I will see you all in another video. Bye.